Kotaku, famous video game outlet. Some for, actually most for very bad reasons. Now let me just put this out there. I don't have a personal issue with Kotaku per se. I have more so an issue with how they present their content, right? They're a gaming outlet. But to me, every time I read a Kotaku article, all of their writers seem to A, not really be gamers themselves in like the normal sense, or B, don't really care about the people that are either consuming gaming content or, for that matter, making the games. Brett, I'm referencing an article by Ian Walker. The article is titled Call of Duty Dev, Visiting Europe, Shooting Old Guns Was Hard Work. You know? That's the name of the article.
And in that title, he's implying that basically...
This was a quote from this person I'm about to talk about.
I know, but what he's implying here is that the Call of Duty dev is saying that his job is hard, but really it's not hard, is what they're implying.
Right. Now, this quote comes from somebody named Glenn Schofield, right, who is the head of Sledgehammer.
Yep.
Okay. The specific quote that Ian Walker is referring to is this. Schofield says, quote, "People nowadays think a Call of Duty is, just put it through the grinder and another one will come out. They don't realize how much work goes into making a Call of Duty game. There's just a ton of research." Okay. And he was saying this in reference to shooting firearms for research for the next Call of Duty game. Okay. So why I bring this up, right, is can you imagine being Schofield? He is in charge, right, of this massive franchise that comes out every single year. And say what you will about Call of Duty, it's fucking huge. It's
the biggest
massive.
Franchise.
Sells millions of copies every year. It doesn't matter what it is, right? It's the biggest video game franchise of like all time besides Pokemon. Okay? It's fucking massive. So imagine being Schofield, and I don't care if he's an executive, if he's in charge of the studio, if he's a developer, whatever it is, he's under an immense amount of pressure. Can you imagine every 3 years, right, Johnny Activision coming to you saying, okay, you have hundreds of millions of dollars. This is your team. You have 3 years to make this game. Go. That's not an easy job to do. Okay?
I doubt it was 3 years, too. I mean, I bet it was even less than that in certain situations.
Why I bring this up, Brett, is because basically what Ian does here is continue to go on to say and shit on Schofield for basically doing his job, right? So he says that Schofield also mentioned working alongside special forces from several different countries while acting as a co-director on 2 Call of Duty games and supporting Infinity Ward on the 3rd during his tenure at Sledgehammer. And Ian says here that he doesn't think that this seems like a bad deal as far as video game development goes. He says when the topic of hard work came up, and I guess they were talking in an interview, he said, "I fully expected him," referencing Schofield, "to give a nod to quality assurance or speak on the grueling Call of Duty dev cycle, not reading and watching videos," as he goes on to explain.
And he was doing research.
Exactly. And Ian continues here by saying, "While in no way do I intend to diminish the often overwhelming amount of work that goes into making video games, the majority of which falls on the grunts rather than the leadership, what Schofield is talking about here sounds suspiciously like a vacation. Sure, it's probably hard to think of it that way when you're there for work, but come on, you're traveling to Europe with Activision's credit card in your wallet, not back in the studio documenting bugs for 12 hours a day at barely more than minimum wage. Are you kidding me? This man was responsible for the largest gaming franchise on the face of the earth, besides Pokemon. Like, and he's doing research for a game that he's in charge of. And you're, demeaning this man by saying he's going on vacation when he's doing work.
He was trying to do like a gamers rise up thing, but none of the gamers were behind him.
He was like doing this gotcha thing, and really all he has here is just explaining what Schofield did for his job, which is a perfectly reasonable thing for somebody that's in charge of a game to do. Yeah. Like, I don't get it, man. I added this as a sample set of why I have an issue with Kotaku, because this is what all of their media is like. This is what all of it's like, right? Like, it's honestly disgusting to me.
It's like they write the headlines first, and then they come up with articles, you know?
Yeah. And all I'm gonna say is this, right? If you're a journalist, you're entitled to your own opinion. Okay, but I want everybody that's reading this, don't take my word for it. I don't even care. I'm not here to save you from Kotaku. You can fucking, I don't care. Kotaku can exist. That's fine. But I don't have to agree with them. Go look at Ian Walker's other articles. Go read them. Go look at his Twitter profile and see what he says. And then you come back and tell me that he's not fucking ridiculous. And I'll leave it at that. Continuing with that, I was gonna read this entire article, but I'm not going to, okay? Because first of all, this is going on longer than it probably should. And I don't want to belabor it too much. But Kotaku has a new editor-in-chief, Patricia Hernandez. I actually don't have a problem with Patricia Hernandez. I think she's actually pretty good. She's done some good work in the past. She's worked at Kotaku in the past. She since went to Polygon and now has come back and is editor-in-chief of Kotaku. She wrote a new letter called Hello Kotaku, it's me, your new EIC, editor-in-chief. Okay? Everybody that is involved in video games or plays video games should go read this. Because it's a point, the article summarizes to this, Brett, a point that you and I have made for a very long time, is that typical games journalism is cancer, right? And it's going to die. Formats like ours, communities like ours, content like ours, is really what is going to drive interest in video games, right? It's not this like constant cycle from news outlets covering the next big shiny fucking turd that's coming out and just like perpetuating it, telling you, oh, don't pre-order the game. Meanwhile, they're just incessantly fucking stuck in this constant cycle of what's new. Like it's like ridiculous. Okay, and that's an opinion I think you and I share. I don't want to speak for you. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, no, you're right. I do think that, you know, a lot of what we do here wouldn't be possible without these game journalists that write these articles. However, I do see your point, and I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's a cycle, right? What's new? What's next? Blah, blah, blah. Not like, I think we do more of, maybe it's 50-50. Maybe we should look at that ourselves. But like we take more of like Jason Schreier's stuff, more of like the back end stuff that is more in depth.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. Anyway, but I bring this up because she essentially says at the end of this, which I thought was so satiating, especially for the outlet that she is now in charge of, right? She talks about vying for relevance, talking about wokeness culture and stuff like that, which she makes some good points on, and that the fact that they really shouldn't have to do that as game journalists because it's not their place, which we could talk about forever. But she talks about relevance, this constant cycle, anger of journalists, sometimes anger stoked by influencers like us talking about that. But she says what she's getting at basically is that she's terrified about her tenure at Kotaku, right? Because a lot of what she describes in the article, she says she can't change, or even her team of people can't change it, right? Then she talks about that she didn't even talk about the institutional issues at Kotaku. And then she says, failure seems inevitable. But I am the sort of cursed person who cannot shoot for anything less than changing the way the game is played. This is the new editor-in-chief of an outlet that has taken such flack, right, from the content that they produce, saying that failure is inevitable. I think that is so satiating. First of all, I do want to give kudos to her because she really laid it all out in this article and was like probably the most honest a gaming journalist has ever been that I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
Of like pointing out literally everything, some of which I agree with, some of which I don't, and then saying that failure seems inevitable. And I have to say that I agree, because now that you are the editor-in-chief, you might want to parse back some people like Ian that are on your writing staff and tell them to think about what they're actually writing first before they go ahead and try to get clicks on that headline.
Yeah, and maybe that's the institutionalized shit she was talking about. Like maybe there's a culture there where it's like, you know, you don't get rewarded for having good articles, you get rewarded for having the best, you know, the most clicks, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe that's why he's writing shit like that. Who knows?
Yeah. So we could talk about that more. I just thought it was interesting, and I don't know, wanted to mention it. So.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Josh and Brett really need you too. I love them. So do it. It would be a shame if you miss more of their videos. Hit the notification bell too, so you know when there is a new upload.